Today, we venture into the windswept island of Tsushima to explore one of gaming's most compelling tales of honor, sacrifice, and transformation. Over the next couple hours, we'll uncover the complete story of Jin Sakai, from proud samurai to legendary ghost, as he struggles against impossible odds to save his homeland. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's embark on this epic journey together. The setting and historical context. Before we delve into Jin's personal journey, we must understand the world that shaped his story. The year is 1274, and the island of Tsushima sits like a sentinel between the Korean peninsula and mainland Japan. This small, mountainous island has long been home to fishing villages, samurai clans, and the occasional band of pirates known as Waco. But now, a storm approaches from across the sea, one that will test everything the people of Tsushima hold dear. The Mongol Empire, under the leadership of Kublai Khan, has set its sights on Japan. After conquering much of Korea and establishing their dominance across vast swaths of Asia, the Mongols view the island nation as their next prize. But Tsushima, this seemingly insignificant stepping stone, will become the stage for a conflict that challenges not just military might, but the very soul of what it means to be a warrior. While Ghost of Tsushima draws inspiration from the historical Mongol invasions of Japan in 1274 and 1281, the developers have made it clear this is entertainment rather than historical accuracy. The game imagines an alternative scenario where organized resistance on Tsushima lasted much longer than the historical reality, which saw the island overwhelmed in a matter of days. The island of Tsushima itself becomes a character in this story. Its rolling hills covered in golden grass, its ancient shrines nestled among bamboo groves, and its coastal villages where the sound of waves mingles with the ring of steel. All of this forms the backdrop for a tale that is as much about place as it is about people. The wind, in particular, takes on special significance throughout Jin's journey, guiding him not just physically across the landscape, but serving as a gameplay mechanic that suggests deeper spiritual connections to his environment. The Sakai legacy and Jin's origins. Jin Sakai was born into Clan Sakai and grew up in Omi village on Tsushima Island. The Sakai family has a complex history on Tsushima, one that will come to haunt Jin in ways he cannot yet imagine. His father, Kazumasa Sakai, was a samurai of considerable skill and reputation, but his legacy carries shadows that Jin will only fully understand during his later adventures in the Iki Island expansion. Jin's childhood was marked by profound trauma when his father Kazumasa was killed during a military campaign. Through flashbacks, we see that young Jin witnessed this death and was paralyzed by fear, a memory that surfaces repeatedly throughout his journey. Following this loss, Jin was raised by his maternal uncle, Lord Shimura, establishing the relationship that forms the emotional core of the entire narrative. Shimura became both mentor and father figure, and through their interactions, we can see how deeply Jin internalized the samurai code. The game shows us Shimura's philosophy through dialogue and training sequences, where he emphasizes the importance of facing enemies with honor and courage. These principles, reinforced through years of instruction, shaped Jin into someone who initially sees the world in clear terms of right and wrong. The Sakai clan's ancestral home in Omi village represents everything Jin holds dear about his heritage. Here, among the graves of his ancestors and the training grounds where he first learned to wield a katana, Jin's identity as a samurai was forged. The village itself, with its peaceful farming families and traditional architecture, embodies the Japan that Jin believes he has sworn to protect, a world of order, tradition, and quiet dignity. The game suggests through its structure and character development that Jin's upbringing created both his greatest strengths and his most significant vulnerabilities. His deep desire to earn Shimura's approval, evident in their conversations and Jin's reactions to criticism, creates internal pressure that becomes crucial when he faces decisions forcing him to choose between loyalty and conviction. The Sakai legacy carries shadows that Jin doesn't initially understand. While not revealed until the Iki Island expansion, his father's actions during the pacification campaign there earned him the title the Butcher of Iki, suggesting that moral compromises run deeper in the family history than Jin realizes. This pattern implies that the choices Jin will face may not be entirely unprecedented, even if he's unaware of these precedents. The Mongol invasion and the Battle of Komoda Beach. The peaceful world of Tsushima is shattered when Mongol ships appear on the horizon. Jin Sakai and his uncle, Lord Shimura, Jito of Tsushima Island, lead the samurai garrison of Tsushima into battle against an invasion fleet from the Mongol Empire. The samurai of Tsushima, perhaps 80 strong, according to the game's opening, ride out to meet this threat with the confidence of men who have never known defeat. But the enemy they face is unlike anything they have encountered before. The Mongols are led by Khotun Khan, who is identified in the game as a cousin of Kublai Khan and a cunning leader who has prepared extensively for this invasion. Where the samurai expect honor and ritual combat, Khan offers only brutal pragmatism. The battle begins with an attempt at traditional warfare. Lord Shimura sends his second-in-command, Lord Harunobu Adachi, to confront the Mongol soldiers on the beach of Komoda, challenging them to send their finest warrior to fight him. This is how wars should begin in the samurai worldview, with individual combat between champions, where honor and skill determine the outcome rather than mere numbers or technological superiority. But Khotun Khan has studied his enemies well. The game establishes through dialogue that Khan learned the Japanese language and used intelligence gathering to understand Japan's culture and military traditions. He understands exactly what the samurai expect, and he uses this knowledge to deliver a devastating psychological blow. What happens next becomes a defining moment for both the battle and the story's themes. Khan's execution of Lord Adachi violates every convention of samurai warfare, demonstrating that he has no intention of playing by traditional rules. The specific brutality of this act, which the game presents as a shocking contrast to expected honorable combat, serves to shatter the samurai's fundamental assumptions about how warfare should proceed. The psychological devastation of this moment extends beyond the immediate tactical situation. When we consider that the samurai have built their entire identity around honor and martial skill, seeing their champion eliminated not through superior technique, but through complete rejection of their moral framework, represents an existential crisis. This suggests why the subsequent battle becomes less about military tactics and more about the clash between incompatible worldviews. What follows is a massacre rather than a battle. The Mongols use explosives, overwhelming numbers, and tactics that the samurai have never encountered. The code of Bushido, which demands that warriors face their enemies head-on with courage and honor, becomes not a source of strength, but a fatal weakness when confronted with an enemy who recognizes no such constraints. Jin witnesses the destruction of everything he has been taught to believe in. His fellow samurai are cut down not through lack of skill or courage, but because their very virtues have become liabilities. Their insistence on honor makes them predictable. Their unwillingness to use underhanded tactics leaves them defenseless against enemies who embrace such methods without hesitation. The game shows Jin awakening among the bodies of fallen samurai, discovering that his uncle has been captured by the Mongols. The golden autumn grass of Komoda Beach is now stained with blood, littered with the bodies of Tsushima's finest warriors. Jin survives only by chance, found among the dead and presumed to be just another corpse. The Battle of Komoda Beach serves as the crucial turning point that establishes the game's central themes. The question that will drive every subsequent choice Jin makes has been written in the wind that blows across the battlefield. What good is honor if it cannot protect the innocent? What value do the old ways hold if they lead only to death and defeat? Yuna and the seeds of change. In the darkest moment of Jin's life, salvation comes from an unexpected source. Yuna, a skilled thief and native to the island, finds Jin gravely wounded and rescues him from the beach, gradually nursing him back to health while hiding him from the Mongol army. This encounter between the noble samurai and the common thief will prove to be one of the most significant relationships in the entire story. Yuna represents a worldview fundamentally different from Jin's upbringing. Through her dialogue and actions, we learn that she and Taka have developed survival skills that the samurai class would traditionally consider dishonorable. Her approach to problems, pragmatic, resourceful, focused on immediate needs, appears to stem from experiences that taught her to prioritize results over methods. This creates a fascinating dynamic when she saves Jin's life by trading his katana for medicine and supplies. While this act could be seen as a profound violation of samurai values, her willingness to risk her own safety, caring for a stranger, suggests that her moral framework, though different, operates from its own sense of honor. This juxtaposition implies that there might be multiple valid approaches to honorable behavior, depending on one's circumstances and responsibilities. To Jin, the katana represents more than a weapon. It is the soul of the warrior, the physical manifestation of his honor and duty. The game emphasizes this through Jin's initial reaction to learning his sword was traded. But as he watches Yuna care for him with no expectation of reward, risking her own safety to nurse a stranger back to health, Jin begins to understand that there are different forms of honor in the world. While they hide from Mongol guards, Yuna teaches Jin stealth tactics that begin his transformation into the ghost. These lessons represent Jin's first real education in unconventional warfare. From Yuna, he learns that sometimes the best way to win a fight is to avoid it entirely. That knowledge and cunning can be as powerful as the sharpest blade. The techniques Yuna teaches Jin are simple but revolutionary for someone raised in the samurai tradition. How to move silently through tall grass, how to strike from concealment, how to create distractions and use the environment for tactical advantage. Each lesson challenges something fundamental about Jin's understanding of combat and honor. But perhaps the most important thing Yuna teaches Jin is perspective. The game portrays her as someone who has learned to see beyond the surface of things, to understand that sometimes acts that appear dishonorable are motivated by the deepest kind of honor, the desire to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Through Yuna's example, Jin begins to see the people of Tsushima not as subjects to be ruled, but as individuals with their own stories, struggles, and strengths. This shift in perspective, from seeing himself as a noble protector looking down upon his charges, to seeing himself as one person among many fighting for their shared survival, represents the first crack in Jin's samurai worldview. The relationship between Jin and Yuna also introduces one of the story's central themes, the idea that true strength often comes from unexpected sources. Jin possesses all the traditional markers of power, but he is helpless until Yuna, who possesses none of these advantages, saves his life through her own resourcefulness and courage. The first steps toward the ghost. With his strength restored and his katana reclaimed, Jin faces his first real test as a warrior, changed by necessity. Jin launches a rescue attempt at Castle Kaneda, which the Mongols have seized as their base of operations, in a desperate bid to free the captive Shimura. This mission represents more than just an attempt to save his uncle. It is Jin's first opportunity to test whether traditional samurai methods can still achieve victory. The assault on Castle Kaneda serves as a crucial proving ground for Jin's evolving philosophy. Armed with his recovered katana and driven by determination to rescue his uncle, Jin initially attempts to approach the fortress as a traditional samurai would. The game shows him believing that skill, courage, and determination will be enough to overcome any obstacle. But the reality he encounters forces him to confront the limitations of his traditional training. He is defeated in a duel with Khotan Khan and cast from the castle's bridge. This defeat is more devastating than the massacre at Komoda Beach because it is deeply personal. At Komoda Beach, Jin could tell himself that the samurai were overwhelmed by numbers and surprise. Here, in single combat against Khotan Khan, Jin faces the undeniable truth that even his individual prowess is insufficient against this new kind of enemy. The duel reveals the fundamental mismatch between Jin's worldview and the reality he faces. The game depicts Jin approaching the combat with ritual and ceremony his training demands, while Khotan Khan fights purely to win rather than to display virtue. Khan has no interest in honor, no concern for proper form, no desire to prove his martial superiority according to Japanese standards. Though Jin survives the fall, he is left humbled by his defeat, realizing that conventional tactics and adherence to Bushido will not defeat the Mongols. This moment of recognition represents the true beginning of Jin's transformation. The game suggests that the psychological impact of this realization may be even more significant than the physical damage of his injuries. Jin then gathers a number of allies to aid in his mission. This process of building alliances represents a fundamental shift in Jin's approach to warfare and leadership. Traditional samurai culture emphasized individual prowess and hierarchical authority, but Jin's situation forces him to engage with people he has never truly considered as equals. From Taka, Yuna's brother and a skilled blacksmith, Jin learns about the practical arts of crafting that make unconventional warfare possible. The game shows Jin helping Yuna find Taka, who creates specialized equipment, including a grappling hook that will prove crucial to Jin's developing tactics. The grappling hook that Taka creates becomes more than just a tool. It becomes a symbol of Jin's willingness to embrace new methods and abandon traditional samurai approaches to warfare. The ability to scale walls and attack from unexpected angles represents everything that the samurai code would traditionally prohibit. From Sensei Ishikawa, Jin learns advanced archery techniques that allow him to strike from a distance, rather than closing to sword range as honor would traditionally demand. The game establishes that Jin enlists Ishikawa's help in exchange for aid in hunting the sensei's former student, Tomoe, creating a pattern of mutual assistance that will define many of Jin's relationships. Lady Masako Adachi brings her own martial skills and experience with loss, while also challenging assumptions about gender roles within the warrior class. The game shows that Masako agrees to help in exchange for assistance in hunting the killers of her family, establishing another reciprocal relationship based on shared goals rather than hierarchical authority. Each of these alliances forces Jin to recognize that he cannot save Tsushima alone, and that the people he must save possess their own strengths and wisdom that he needs to embrace rather than simply command. This collaborative approach stands in stark contrast to the traditional samurai emphasis on individual achievement and clear hierarchical authority. The birth of the Ghost. As Jin's efforts to disrupt the Mongol invasion gain him notoriety, the people begin to refer to him as the Ghost. The game suggests that Yuna encourages these stories, helping to spread the legend of a vengeful samurai spirit returned from the dead to punish the Mongols. This marks the moment when Jin's individual acts of rebellion begin to coalesce into something larger, a legend that takes on a life of its own. The second assault on Castle Komoda represents Jin's first true success in applying the lessons he has learned. After gathering his allies, the game shows Jin scaling the walls of Castle Komoda with Taka's grappling hook before opening the castle gates to allow his allies to storm the fortress. This approach stands in stark contrast to his previous frontal assault and demonstrates his embrace of unconventional tactics. The significance of this victory cannot be overstated. For the first time, Jin achieves success not through superior swordsmanship or noble bearing, but through stealth, cunning, and collaboration with people who would traditionally be beneath his notice. The grappling hook becomes a symbol of everything that separates the ghost from the samurai. It allows him to bypass traditional defenses and avoid the kind of direct confrontation that has proven so costly. But the rescue of Lord Shimura creates as many problems as it solves. The game reveals through dialogue that Shimura has spent his captivity in conversations with Khotun Khan, exchanges that have only strengthened his commitment to traditional samurai values. Where Jin has learned flexibility from defeat, Shimura has responded by doubling down on the certainties that have always guided him. Shimura's reaction to Jin's methods reveals the central tension that will drive the rest of the story. He is grateful for his rescue, but the game makes clear through his dialogue and reactions that he is troubled by the means through which it was accomplished. The use of stealth, the reliance on common allies, the very tactics that made rescue possible, all of these things conflict with Shimura's understanding of proper samurai conduct. With her promise fulfilled, Yuna asks that Jin and Lord Shimura help her and Taka escape Tsushima, believing there is nothing left for them there. This request highlights the different stakes involved for Jin's various allies. For Jin and Shimura, Tsushima is their ancestral home. For Yuna and Taka, it is simply where they happen to live, and if it becomes too dangerous, they would prefer to leave. Shimura agrees, but on the condition that she help him and Jin retake Castle Shimura. The game presents this as a conditional agreement that reveals Shimura's continuing inability to see people like Yuna as anything more than tools to be used in service of larger goals. As Jin's reputation as the ghost grows, he finds himself becoming something he never intended to be, a symbol of resistance that transcends his individual actions. The game shows through NPC dialogue and environmental storytelling that the people of Tsushima begin to see him not as Jin Sakai, but as a supernatural figure who embodies their hopes for liberation. The legend of the ghost serves multiple narrative purposes. On a practical level, it allows Jin to inspire fear in his enemies and hope in potential allies. But the transformation also represents a kind of death for Jin Sakai, the individual, as people become less interested in the man behind the mask and more invested in the symbol he has become. The growing divide, Jin's allies and their stories. As Jin's campaign expands, he finds himself working with a diverse group of allies, each carrying their own burdens and pursuing their own forms of justice. These relationships serve not only to advance the plot, but to explore different aspects of the themes that define Jin's transformation. Sensei Ishikawa is a master archer whose former student Tomoe has betrayed him. Through the game's side quest storyline, we learn that Ishikawa's situation parallels Jin's own relationship with Lord Shimura. Both men face students who have abandoned their teachings, though the circumstances and motivations differ significantly. Through Ishikawa's quest line, the game explores themes of mentorship and responsibility. His eventual acknowledgement that he, Masako, and Shimura are all killers, not so different from Jin in his role as the ghost, represents a moment that challenges simple distinctions between honorable and dishonorable behavior. Lady Masako Adachi brings her own perspective on justice and revenge to Jin's campaign. The game reveals through her questline that Masako is dealing with the loss of her family, leading her on a quest for vengeance that ultimately reveals complex family betrayals. Masako's story explores the darker aspects of the revenge narrative that runs throughout Ghost of Tsushima. Her quest demonstrates how the pursuit of vengeance can consume those who undertake it, while also examining traditional gender roles within samurai society through her role as a female warrior. Taka represents the practical support that makes Jin's transformation possible. As a skilled blacksmith, he creates the tools that allow Jin to fight as the ghost rather than as a traditional samurai. The grappling hook, specialized arrows, and armor modifications all come from Taka's workshop, making him essential to Jin's tactical evolution. But the game also establishes Taka as representing the ordinary people of Tsushima, whose lives have been disrupted by the invasion. Unlike the samurai, who were trained for war, Taka is a craftsman trying to survive in a world that has suddenly become violent and dangerous. Kenji provides a different perspective on survival and resistance. As a merchant, he understands the economic and social networks that keep communities functioning during wartime. His schemes, while often seeming frivolous, reveal important information about Mongol operations and provide resources that Jin's more traditional allies cannot access. The game uses Kenji's humorous adventures to provide moments of levity, while also highlighting different adaptation strategies during crisis, where samurai respond with martial action and craftsmen with practical support. Merchants respond by finding ways to continue their business despite changed circumstances. The warrior monk Norio provides an alternative to the rigid honor code that has shaped Jin's upbringing. Through Norio's questline, the game explores how Buddhist philosophy can offer different approaches to protecting the innocent while maintaining spiritual integrity. Jin's elderly caretaker, Yuriko, provides a crucial link to his family's past and to the peaceful world that existed before the invasion. When Jin returns to his ancestral home, Yuriko's presence represents continuity with his childhood and with the values that shaped his early development. Perhaps the most complex relationship is with Jin's childhood friend Ryuzo, leader of the Straw Hat Ronin. The game establishes through dialogue and flashbacks that Ryuzo represents a different path, a skilled warrior whose circumstances have led him down a darker road than Jin's. The game reveals tensions in their shared past, including a tournament loss that appears to have created lasting resentment. Ryuzo's current situation, leading desperate men who need food and shelter, makes him vulnerable to offers that he might otherwise reject, ultimately putting him at odds with Jin's goals. These relationships serve multiple functions within the larger narrative. They provide Jin with the skills, resources, and perspective he needs to become an effective leader, while also forcing him to grapple with different definitions of honor, loyalty, and justice. The diversity of Jin's allies reflects the reality that effective resistance movements must draw on all segments of society. Act 1. The Rescue of Lord Shimura. The first major phase of Jin's campaign culminates in the successful liberation of Lord Shimura from Mongol captivity. But this victory comes at costs that neither uncle nor nephew fully anticipate. The rescue mission serves as both a military objective and a test of the methods Jin has learned from his unlikely allies. The game shows Jin meeting with Taka and Yuna outside of Yarikawa stronghold, where the Mongols have the townspeople under siege. The choice to seek allies from the Yarikawa clan represents a significant departure from traditional samurai politics, as the game establishes that the Yarikawa had previously rebelled against Clan Shimura's authority. Through stealth infiltration, using passages Yuna and Taka knew from childhood, the trio managed to get inside the stronghold. However, they failed to persuade the Yarikawa leader, Ujimasa, to fight with Shimura's army. The game reveals through dialogue that Ujimasa holds resentment toward Clan Sakai and Shimura, due to their role in past conflicts with his clan. Despite this setback, Jin manages to gather enough allies and resources to attempt the rescue. The assault on Castle Komoda demonstrates Jin's growth as both a warrior and a leader. Where his first attempt was a traditional frontal assault that ended in defeat, this second approach combines careful planning, diverse allies, and unconventional tactics. The successful rescue of Lord Shimura should represent triumph, but instead, the game reveals the depth of the philosophical divide between Jin and his uncle. Despite the bloodless victory, Shimura is appalled by Jin's methods, since using stealth and relying on common allies goes against the samurai code. The game makes Shimura's disapproval clear through dialogue and cutscenes, devastating Jin, who expected gratitude and approval. This reaction highlights the fundamental difference between their worldviews. For Shimura, the means matter as much as the victory itself, while for Jin, who has seen the cost of honorable defeat, such considerations seem like luxuries the living cannot afford. The reunion is further complicated by Shimura's growing awareness of Jin's reputation as the ghost. The game suggests through dialogue that during his captivity, Khotun Khan taunted Shimura with stories of Jin's unconventional methods and growing legend among the common people. The success of the rescue mission also has broader implications for the resistance. Jin's victory demonstrates that the invaders are not invincible and that creative tactics can overcome superior numbers. Word of the ghost's success begins to spread throughout Tsushima, inspiring hope among the occupied population. But this growing reputation also creates new problems for Jin. As the legend spreads, Jin finds himself becoming a symbol for causes he never intended to represent. The common people begin to see him as their champion, not just against the Mongols, but against the entire feudal system. The end of Act 1 establishes the pattern that will define the rest of Jin's journey. Each tactical success comes with strategic complications, and every step away from traditional methods creates new conflicts with the people Jin cares about most. The rescue achieves its immediate objective, but makes clear that Jin's transformation is irreversible and will inevitably lead to confrontation with everything he once held sacred. Act 2, The Shadow of War. The second act takes place in the Toyotama region, where the full scope of the Mongol occupation becomes apparent, and where Jin's methods become increasingly controversial. This phase explores the psychological and moral costs of prolonged conflict, while deepening the game's central themes. Jin recruits the warrior monk Norio, his fellow monks, and members of the disgraced Yarikawa family to retake Castle Shimura. This expansion of his alliance demonstrates Jin's growing understanding that effective resistance requires drawing support from all segments of society, including those marginalized by the traditional system. The siege becomes a major test of Jin's leadership and tactical innovation. Unlike the stealth-based rescue at Castle Komoda, this assault requires coordinating a large, diverse force against a heavily fortified position. Jin must blend traditional samurai warfare with unconventional methods while managing complex relationships between allies who have little reason to trust each other. Jin also recruits the pirate Goro to carry a petition for reinforcements and a request for Jin to be adopted as Shimura's heir to the shogun. This diplomatic mission represents Shimura's attempt to legitimize Jin's position within the traditional hierarchy while seeking official support. A crucial turning point comes when Jin recovers his family's ancestral armor from Yuriko, who teaches him how to create poison. This represents a significant moment in Jin's transformation. The Sakai clan armor connects him to family heritage and traditional values, but the knowledge of poison making represents his willingness to embrace methods those same traditions would condemn. Yuriko's role is particularly significant because she represents the bridge between Jin's past and evolving present. As someone who knew him as a child and served his family for generations, her willingness to teach him poison making suggests that even those most committed to tradition can recognize when adaptation is necessary. The poison becomes both a practical weapon and a symbol of Jin's moral transformation. It represents everything that traditional samurai warfare rejects. It is indirect, invisible, and impossible to defend against through skill or courage. But poison is also devastatingly effective against an enemy that has shown no respect for honorable combat. The strategic situation becomes complex as the Mongols adapt to Jin's tactics. Jin and Taka attempt to infiltrate a fortress but are ambushed and captured by Khan. This represents a significant setback and demonstrates that the Mongols are learning to counter Jin's methods. The ambush reveals how desperate circumstances can force difficult choices. When Jin refuses Khan's demands, the situation escalates tragically. Taka is killed, and after Khan leaves, Jin frees himself and confronts the Straw Hats with Yuna's help. Taka's death represents the first major personal loss Jin suffers as a direct result of his campaign. The young blacksmith who created the tools that enabled Jin's transformation becomes a casualty of the war he helped make possible. The impact on both Jin and Yuna demonstrates how resistance efforts exact personal costs on those involved. The shogun's reinforcements arrive, and Shimura leads an assault on Castle Shimura, driving the Mongols into the inner keep. This represents the most successful conventional military operation against the Mongols since Komoda Beach, demonstrating what might be possible if old and new approaches could be effectively combined. But even this success is overshadowed by moral complexity. Knowing they cannot risk losing more men, Jin infiltrates the Mongol camp with poison and kills many soldiers before fighting and killing Ryuso in a duel. The poison attack is devastatingly effective, but represents Jin's most extreme departure from samurai tradition. Jin's final confrontation with Ryuso adds personal tragedy to tactical necessity. This fight between former friends encapsulates how the war has destroyed relationships and forced impossible choices. Ryuso's death represents not just the elimination of a threat, but the final severing of Jin's connections to his pre-war life. Although Khotun's forces have been weakened, the game reveals that Shimura and the shogunate are displeased with Jin's methods, as they violate the samurai code. This disapproval forces Jin to confront the reality that saving Tsushima may require sacrificing everything that has given his life meaning. The shogunate's reaction reveals the deep conservatism of the traditional power structure and its inability to adapt to new realities. Rather than celebrating the liberation of Castle Shimura, the authorities focus on the methods used and their implications for the social order. Jin is imprisoned, but later escapes, making his transformation from samurai to outlaw official. He is no longer merely someone who has adopted unconventional methods. He has become someone who threatens the fundamental assumptions upon which samurai society is based. The Mongol perspective, Khotun Khan's war. To understand the full scope of Jin's transformation and the challenges he faces, we must examine the conflict from his primary antagonist's perspective. Khotun Khan, identified in the game as a cousin of Kublai Khan, represents everything the samurai system is unprepared to handle. The game establishes through dialogue that Khotun grew up as a successful general in the Mongol Empire with experience in China. His background gives him sophisticated understanding of different cultures and military traditions that proves invaluable in his campaign against Japan. Before leading the invasion, the game reveals that Khotun learned Japanese and used intelligence gathering to understand Japan's history, politics, and culture. This preparation demonstrates his strategic thinking and understanding that conquest involves more than military victory. To control Japan, He must understand and undermine the psychological and cultural foundations of Japanese resistance. Khotun's knowledge of samurai culture becomes his most effective weapon. He understands their commitment to honor, their need for ritual, their belief in individual combat as warfare's highest form. With this knowledge, he can predict their actions and turn their virtues against them. Throughout the first act, he holds Lord Shimura prisoner, using this time to better understand samurai psychology and test approaches to breaking their will. Their conversations, referenced in dialogue, reveal Khotun's sophisticated understanding of tensions within Japanese society. The game shows Khotun explaining to his subordinate Daizo that Castle Shimura is strategically more important than Castle Kaneda because it shields his forces in the north. This demonstrates that Khotun is planning systematic conquest rather than mere raiding. Khotun becomes increasingly fascinated with Jin after learning that he has half the island believing he is a vengeful samurai spirit. This fascination reveals his recognition that Jin represents something new and dangerous. A samurai who has learned to think like a Mongol while retaining cultural legitimacy. When Khotun learns that Jin used poison to massacre his soldiers, he orders his men to gather the same deadly flowers. Rather than simply trying to counter Jin's tactics, Khotun seeks to adopt and improve upon them, eventually using the poison to devastate the Kamiyagata region. The game reveals that Khotun always intended Tsushima as merely a place to resupply and prepare for mainland invasion. Even Jin's greatest victories are merely inconveniences to larger strategic goals. Aware of divisions between the emperor's court and the shogunate, Khotun plans to use Jin's own poison against the mainland. The game portrays Khotun as greatly feared by enemies and highly respected by his army. His authority is unquestioned, and his men will resort to any tactics to achieve victory. This combination makes him an incredibly effective leader and formidable opponent. His ruthlessness is demonstrated in his execution of Lord Adachi and his willingness to use brutal force against non-combatants. By making no distinction between combatants and civilians, he forces enemies to either abandon protective duties or spread forces too thin to be effective. Despite his cruelty, the game shows that Khotun has capacity for mercy when it suits his goals, offering amnesty to those who surrender and fight for him. This calculated mercy provides opportunities for defection rather than death, demonstrating his understanding that successful conquest requires converting enemies into allies. The game particularly shows his ability to exploit desperation, as when Ryuzo and his men were starving and disillusioned. Khotun's talent for identifying and exploiting such weakness makes him dangerous to resistance movements, depending on maintaining morale and unity. Act 3. The Point of No Return. The final act begins with Jin as a fugitive from both Mongols and his own government, forced to operate in shadows while planning his most ambitious mission. After gathering allies and rallying Tsushima's residents, Jin storms Khotun's final stronghold for their ultimate confrontation. Jin, branded a traitor by the shogun, relocates to a simple shack. This physical degradation reflects his fall from grace within the traditional hierarchy. The man who once lived in the Sakai ancestral estate now occupies a simple shelter that offers little more than basic protection. This change represents more than loss of comfort. It symbolizes Jin's complete separation from the world that shaped his identity. Yuna finds him there, and the two discuss next steps for liberating Tsushima. This conversation reveals the evolution of their relationship from its beginning, when Yuna saved Jin's life at Komoda Beach. Then, she was teacher and he was desperate student. Now, they meet as equal partners in a cause neither could pursue alone. The dynamics of their partnership have shifted as Jin has grown into his role as the ghost. But Yuna's practical wisdom continues to provide crucial balance to Jin's sometimes idealistic impulses. Her perspective keeps him grounded in reality, while his leadership gives direction to efforts that might otherwise remain scattered. Jin and Yuna part ways to defeat the remaining Mongols. This separation represents both practical division of labor and symbolic recognition that Jin's transformation has given him capabilities and responsibilities he must ultimately bear alone. With the Mongol fleet trapped in port by an approaching storm, Jin gathers his allies for a final attack on Khotun's stronghold, sending a letter to his uncle, pleading for samurai reinforcements to overwhelm the Mongol defenders. This appeal represents Jin's final attempt to bridge the gap between his new methods and the traditional approach Shimura represents. The letter itself requires diplomatic complexity, as Jin must convince Shimura to support a mission that will require methods Shimura fundamentally opposes. Jin's argument rests on pragmatic necessity, defeating the Mongols before they can escape to threaten the mainland. But his tactical plan depends on approaches that violate everything Shimura taught him. The final assault demonstrates the culmination of everything Jin has learned about leadership, tactics, and moral compromise. He must coordinate samurai reinforcements who still believe in traditional honor with guerrilla fighters who have embraced the ghost's methods. This requires him to bridge two incompatible worldviews while maintaining focus on the immediate objective. Jin infiltrates the settlement and confronts Khotun Khan on his flagship, killing his men before successfully defeating him. This final duel represents more than military victory. It is personal reckoning between two men who have traveled similar paths of adaptation, but arrived at different destinations. The fight with Khotun Khan tests everything Jin has learned throughout his journey. Unlike traditional samurai duels, this combat requires Jin to draw upon all abilities, both conventional swordsmanship, learned from Shimura, and unconventional techniques developed as the ghost. The battle serves as final examination of Jin's evolution as warrior and leader. As Khan tries to voice hopes that the Mongols will return to Tsushima, Jin denounces him before delivering the killing blow, leaving his body to burn on the sinking flagship. This act provides emotional closure for losses Jin has suffered, but also represents his final transformation into someone capable of summary execution without trial or ceremony. The manner of Khotun's death mirrors the fate Khan inflicted upon Lord Adachi at the story's beginning. This demonstrates that Jin has learned to use his enemies' methods against them, but also shows how far he has traveled from the samurai who once believed honor could triumph over pragmatism. Before escaping the burning flagship and reuniting with Yuna, Jin witnesses the destruction of the Mongol fleet and the end of the immediate threat to Tsushima. This moment should represent triumph, but instead feels hollow due to the enormous personal cost. With Tsushima restored to shogun rule, Jin is summoned by Lord Shimura. The reunion takes place in the shadow of everything that has changed between them. Both men have achieved their primary objective. The Mongols have been defeated. But this shared success cannot bridge the philosophical gulf that has opened. The game reveals that the shogun has ordered Shimura to execute Jin as a traitor, transforming what should have been celebration into tragedy. The very success Jin achieved through unconventional methods has made him unacceptable to the traditional authority he fought to preserve. This outcome represents more than political punishment. It is erasure of Jin's identity and heritage. Everything connecting him to his ancestors and place in the social hierarchy has been stripped away as punishment for the methods he used to save that same hierarchy. The shogun's demand stems not from questions about Jin's loyalty or effectiveness, but from fear about the precedent his success might set. If a samurai can achieve victory through dishonorable means without consequences, then the entire foundation of samurai authority becomes questionable. Jin and Shimura reluctantly duel each other, with Jin ultimately victorious. This confrontation represents the inevitable culmination of the ideological conflict building throughout the story. Neither man wants to fight the other, but their fundamental disagreement about duty, honor, and the price of victory has made this moment unavoidable. The duel serves as final test of everything both men represent. Shimura fights with all the skill and honor that traditional training can provide. His technique flawless, courage unquestionable, commitment to principles absolute. Jin must draw upon all abilities, both traditional and unconventional, to achieve victory. The emotional weight of this final confrontation stems from the irreconcilable nature of their positions. These are not enemies meeting in battle, but family members whose fundamental disagreements about duty and honor have made conflict inevitable. Jin's technical victory demonstrates his complete evolution as a warrior, but the cost, defeating the man who raised him, illustrates how thoroughly his transformation has separated him from his origins. The game presents players with a final choice that crystallizes everything Jin has become: spare Shimura's life or grant him an honorable death. Each option represents a different interpretation of what Jin's journey has meant and where his values ultimately rest. Sparing Shimura could be seen as choosing compassion over tradition, while granting the requested death might represent maintaining some connection to the principles that shaped him. Based on either choice, Jin's story concludes with him as an enemy of the shogun, but protector of Tsushima, a figure who exists outside traditional categories. The game's ending suggests that he has become something entirely new, neither fully samurai nor completely divorced from his heritage, but a guardian whose authority derives from effectiveness rather than birthright. The game suggests that Jin's current whereabouts remain a mystery to Tsushima's people, but he continues fighting back remaining Mongol presence while remaining hidden from the shogun's forces. He is forever branded an outlaw as the Ghost, a beloved, supernatural guardian spirit to his island, but a monstrous samurai exile to the rest of his country, the Iki Island expansion, confronting the past. Sometime after the main events, Jin's story continues with an expansion that delves deeper into his family history and the psychological scars of his transformation. The game shows Jin discovering a community of villagers driven insane by a poison described as sacred medicine, administered by a previously unknown Mongol warband, members of the Eagle tribe, led by Anksar the Eagle, Khatoon. The sight of poisoned villagers serves as stark reminder of the innovative cruelty different Mongol leaders bring to conquest campaigns. The Eagle's methods represent psychological warfare even more insidious than Khotun Khan's tactical brutality, using hallucinogenic substances to break minds rather than simply break bodies. Jin learns this new threat originates from Iki Island, where his father once led a military campaign. The expansion establishes that Yuna stays behind to help affected peasants, while Jin sails to Iki, setting the stage for him to confront not just a new enemy, but the darkest chapters of his family history. Jin's journey to Iki Island forces him to confront the most painful aspects of his family legacy. Through the expansion's narrative, Kazumasa Sakai is revealed to have been known as the Butcher of Iki, a title earned through his role in a brutal pacification campaign that the game suggests included massacres of villages and civilians. This revelation fundamentally changes our understanding of Jin's family history and adds complexity to his character development. The father Jin remembered as heroic was, from Iki's perspective, a ruthless warlord whose actions created lasting trauma and resentment. This forces Jin to grapple with the reality that the samurai code he was raised to revere may have been used to justify horrific violence. Jin investigates settlements affected by the Eagle tribe and discovers their use of hallucinogenic poison. The Eagle's methods create a unique narrative device, allowing Jin to experience visions and hallucinations, blurring the line between memory and reality. Under influence of this sacred medicine, Jin is forced to relive traumatic memories while confronting uncomfortable truths about his father's legacy. During his time on Iki, Jin encounters Tenzo, a raider who becomes central to understanding his family's complex legacy. The expansion reveals that Tenzo was involved in Kazumasa's death years earlier, creating a situation where Jin must work alongside someone connected to his father's fate. This development forces Jin to grapple with questions of justice, revenge, and forgiveness. When Jin learns of Tenzo's connection to his father's death, his response demonstrates how his worldview has evolved. Rather than demanding immediate vengeance, as the traditional code might require, Jin's actions suggest he has moved toward a more nuanced understanding of justice that considers context and circumstances. The expansion's climax, where Jin confronts both the Eagle and his own psychological struggles, serves as a form of resolution for trauma he's carried since childhood. His ability to find some measure of peace with his father's memory suggests that growth sometimes requires accepting complexity rather than seeking simple answers. Themes and character development. Jin's character development can be understood as a gradual movement from rigid adherence to inherited values toward a more flexible, experiential approach to moral decision-making. His transformation involves learning new combat techniques, but more fundamentally represents a shift in how he understands the relationship between methods and goals, tradition and effectiveness. The tension between honor and pragmatism drives much of the narrative, complicated by revelations about how previous generations navigated similar challenges. Jin begins with clear definitions inherited from his training, but his experiences force him to question whether abstract principles retain meaning when they consistently fail to protect the innocent or are used to justify violence against them. We can trace this evolution through his key relationships. Yuna's influence teaches him that honor can manifest in protecting others regardless of social status or conventional methods. His dynamic with Shimura illustrates the difficulty of maintaining connections across ideological divides. Each ally represents different approaches to resistance, showing Jin that effective opposition requires diverse skills and perspectives that traditional hierarchies often overlook. His relationship with Shimura represents tension between tradition and adaptation. Shimura embodies the old system's best qualities: brave, principled, genuinely committed to protecting his people. But his inflexibility prevents adaptation to new challenges and ultimately makes him an obstacle to the very goals he claims to serve. Supporting characters each represent different approaches to survival and resistance under occupation. Masako's quest shows the dark side of abandoning traditional constraints. Ishikawa's pursuit of his wayward student parallels Jin's relationship with authority figures. Kenji's pragmatism demonstrates that resistance can take many forms. The identity transformation theme runs parallel to questions of honor, suggesting that effective leadership in crisis may require fundamental changes in self-conception. Jin's evolution from samurai to ghost represents more than tactical adaptation. It involves becoming something qualitatively different that draws authority from different sources and serves different purposes than traditional roles. Environmental elements like the guiding wind serve as metaphors for this transformation. Just as wind shifts direction based on conditions rather than predetermined patterns, Jin learns to adapt his approach based on circumstances rather than rigid adherence to inherited rules. This suggests that wisdom might involve developing intuitive responses that transcend formal regulations. The relationship between individual change and broader social transformation becomes apparent as Jin's personal evolution enables new forms of resistance. His example demonstrates that when traditional authority structures fail to protect people, individuals may need to create new models of leadership and protection. The ghost legend's power stems not from official recognition, but from effectiveness and popular consent. The story explores costs of leadership and isolation that comes with making difficult decisions. As Jin becomes more effective as leader, he becomes more distant from people around him. His transformation gives him power to protect others, but requires sacrificing much personal happiness and many important relationships. The theme of family, both biological and chosen, runs throughout the narrative. Jin's biological connection to Shimura provides stability and identity, but also constraint and expectation. His chosen family of allies provides support and understanding, but also complexity and moral ambiguity. Tension between these different kinds of family loyalty drives many of the story's most important conflicts. The historical setting allows the story to explore themes about cultural change and adaptation without becoming overtly political. The Mongol invasion serves as external pressure, forcing rapid evolution in social and moral systems, providing framework for examining how individuals and societies adapt to existential threats. The legacy of the ghost. Jin's transformation into the ghost has implications extending far beyond his individual story or the immediate Mongol threat. By his journey's end, Jin has become something transcending traditional categories, neither fully samurai nor fully ronin, neither completely honorable nor completely pragmatic, neither entirely individual nor entirely symbolic. The ghost represents a new kind of hero for a new kind of world. Where traditional samurai heroes drew authority from position within established hierarchies and adherence to formal codes, the ghost draws authority from effectiveness and from consent of those he protects. This shift represents fundamental change in the relationship between leaders and followers, protectors and protected. The methods Jin develops as the ghost, stealth, unconventional tactics, coalition building across social boundaries, psychological warfare, become a template for resistance that can be applied in other contexts by other people. The ghost legend becomes more than one man's transformation. It becomes a model for how ordinary people can become extraordinary when circumstances demand it. But the story also acknowledges the costs of such transformation. Jin's evolution requires him to sacrifice much of what gave his life meaning and structure. His relationships, social position, connection to tradition, sense of moral certainty, all become casualties of his transformation, though they are replaced by a deeper understanding of justice, mercy, and human behavior's complex nature. The ambiguous ending, in which Jin becomes a hunted outlaw regardless of his choice regarding Shimura, suggests there may be no perfect resolution to the conflicts the story explores. The old world has been damaged beyond repair, but the new world that might replace it remains uncertain and undefined. Jin's victory over the Mongols solves the immediate crisis, but does not resolve underlying tensions between tradition and change. Individual freedom and social order, pragmatic effectiveness and moral purity. The question of whether Jin's transformation represents progress or corruption remains deliberately complex. Different characters and players will reach different conclusions based on their own values and priorities. This complexity reflects the nuanced nature of real moral decision-making and acknowledges that there are often no clear answers to the most important questions about how we should live and what we should value. The ghost's legacy also raises questions about the relationship between myth and reality, between the stories we tell about heroes and the actual experience of heroism. The people of Tsushima need the ghost legend to inspire hope and provide direction. But the legend inevitably simplifies and distorts the complex reality of Jin's actual experience. This tension between the man and the myth suggests that perhaps the most important aspect of Jin's transformation is not what he becomes, but what his example enables others to become. The ghost's true legacy may not be in his individual actions, but in the way those actions inspire others to find their own courage and define their own paths toward justice and protection of the innocent. Conclusion: the complete journey. As we reach the end of our exploration of Jin Sakai's transformation from samurai to ghost, we see a story that resonates with timeless themes while remaining firmly grounded in a specific historical and cultural context. Ghost of Tsushima offers us a meditation on honor, duty, and the price of survival that speaks to contemporary concerns while honoring the rich traditions of samurai cinema and literature. Jin's journey from the proud young samurai who rode into battle at Komoda Beach to the solitary figure who stands watch over Tsushima as the ghost represents one of gaming's most compelling character arcs. His transformation is neither simple nor linear. It involves loss and gain, compromise and conviction, isolation and connection in equal measure. The story's refusal to offer easy answers to complex moral questions reflects a mature approach to storytelling that respects both the intelligence of its audience and the genuine difficulty of the issues it explores. Whether Jin's choices represent wisdom or corruption, whether his methods are justified by their results, whether his sacrifices are meaningful or tragic, these questions are left for each player to answer according to their own understanding and values. The relationships that shape Jin's journey, with Yuna, with Shimura, with his various allies and enemies, provide the emotional foundation that makes his transformation meaningful. Without these connections, Jin's evolution would be merely tactical. With them, it becomes deeply human and profoundly moving. The historical setting provides more than just exotic flavor or visual spectacle. The specific challenges faced by feudal Japan during the Mongol invasions create a context in which questions about tradition and change, honor and effectiveness, individual conscience and social duty become particularly urgent and difficult to resolve. The themes explored in Ghost of Tsushima, the tension between personal loyalty and abstract principle, the challenge of maintaining identity during rapid change, the question of whether the ends can justify the means, remain relevant across cultures and centuries. Jin's struggle to find meaning and purpose in a world where old certainties have collapsed speaks to universal human experiences of loss, adaptation, and growth. The game's visual and auditory design supports and enhances the narrative themes in countless subtle ways. The changing weather that reflects Jin's emotional state, the wind that guides his journey across the island, the way that traditional Japanese aesthetics blend with realistic depictions of warfare and violence, all of these elements contribute to a cohesive artistic vision that serves the story's deeper purposes. The technical achievement of creating a convincing recreation of medieval Tsushima provides the foundation for emotional engagement with characters and themes that might otherwise remain abstract. The ability to explore Jin's world firsthand, to experience the beauty that he fights to protect, and the violence that threatens to destroy it, creates an investment in the outcome that pure narrative alone could not achieve. Ghost of Tsushima stands as a testament to the potential of video games as a storytelling medium. By allowing players to participate in Jin's transformation, rather than simply observe it, the game creates opportunities for understanding and empathy that other forms of media cannot match. The player's choices, limited though they may be, create a sense of ownership and responsibility for Jin's journey, that deepens the emotional impact of his story. The legacy of Ghost of Tsushima extends beyond its immediate narrative to influence how we think about heroism, leadership, and moral courage in our own time. Jin Sakai's example suggests that true heroism may require us to abandon comfortable certainties and embrace difficult complexities, to choose effectiveness over purity and compassion over convention. But perhaps most importantly, Ghost of Tsushima reminds us that transformation is possible, even in the darkest circumstances, that individual choices matter, even when they seem insignificant, and that the values worth preserving may sometimes require us to abandon the methods traditionally used to preserve them. And so concludes our deep dive into the complete story of Ghost of Tsushima. We've discovered a tale of transformation that challenges our understanding of honor, duty, and heroism, while providing one of gaming's most emotionally resonant character journeys. The legacy of Jin Sakai and his evolution into the Ghost continues to inspire and provoke, offering lessons about adaptation, sacrifice, and the complex nature of moral courage. We'll explore another thrilling adventure from gaming's vast landscape of epic storytelling. Until then, keep adventuring through those incredible worlds, fellow explorers.